So a little bit about myself and how I got to teach MBSR. I started off being a neuro rehab OT, working primarily with survivors of stroke. So I did that from 2005 until 2010, when I decided to get my motorcycle license so that I could one day get a Harley and ride with my dad side by side. That was the dream. That's my dad. So on the first day of motorcycle lessons, I managed to make it through the whole day from 9 to 5 on the bike, but that was a long day and I was really tired, so I was on a pretty large cruiser. So as I was making a left turn, my fatigued left hand accidentally let go of the clutch, so I ended up accelerating into a curb, and I was thrown 10 feet across the air, slammed into a fence, and landed on my head, and I broke my back. So fortunately for me, an ambulance came. I think it felt like they were there within 10 minutes. And I was taken to Sunnybrook Hospital within 15 minutes. So I was pretty close to Sunnybrook. Now during that ambulance ride, I was in a lot of pain, but then there was this moment that was kind of out of body, but I was in my body, but I had this moment where I had this realization, like this insight, like an aha moment, and it's like God spoke to me, and it was like, it's all about relationships. And I never think like that. Like, I don't talk to my friends like that. I've never said that before. So I knew it was a very spiritual moment. I was like, it's all about relationships. And so I was facing a future of being in a wheelchair for the rest of my life. And in those moments of this insight, I actually felt peace and gratitude. Like the pain kind of went away, and I was like, yes, okay, I still have the ability to have a relationship, be in relation to others, the divine, and be in relationship with myself. So that ability to be in relationship was a new insight for me in that moment, and that really paved the way for the rest of my healing journey, and that will kind of frame why mindfulness has continued to help with my healing. So I got to Sunnybrook Hospital, and that's when I discovered that I had burst fracture T12, the 12th thoracic vertebrae was burst into pieces and compressed my spinal cord. And so I'm here at Sunnybrook with my mom and my dad, and Dr. Ford was able to decompress the spinal cord by taking out all of the little pieces of the burst vertebra and stabilized my spine with 2 rods and 8 screws. Oh yes, and he took a bone graft from my left hip to replace that burst vertebra. And then I was an inpatient at Toronto Rehab for 3 months, and then did outpatient for a year. And I was able to progress from being in a wheelchair to using a rollator walker. And by 1 year after my accident, so by 2011, I had progressed to using 2 single-point canes and a wheelchair for longer distances. So that was really a significant amount of progress, considering they said I was never going to walk again. But despite that physical progress, at that 1 year point, I was not where I thought I would have been a year before. And so and when you're at the 1 year mark, that's when like rehab people say, your window of recovery, you're past that now. And that's when like anxiety and depression really start to hit, and I wasn't coping well. So I remember learning about mindfulness through work at Bridgepoint Health through the employee wellness program. But since I wasn't working, I didn't have access to that anymore. So I went online and I Googled mindfulness, cheap or free, Toronto, because I wasn't working. And that's how I discovered the Mindfulness-Based Stress Reduction Program. There was someone, Roy Hinsa, was offering it in Toronto out of Ryerson for $150. So I'm like, I'm down, I'm going. And I took that course, and I was really surprised at what I gained from that 8-week course. Yes, it gave me coping tools for coping with anxiety, stress, and my pain, but it was that course that helped me to realize that I suffered from chronic self-loathing, chronic self-judgment. Yes, and that was really underlying a lot of my anxiety and depression. So I incorporate that mindfulness into my daily rehab. And when we hear a lot about body awareness and proprioception, that's how mindfulness really paved the way for my physical and functional recovery. It was just really being more and more aware of my body in the moment and how it moves. And with my continued progress, I was so inspired to share mindfulness. So I went to go get trained with Jon Kabat-Zinn, who created the 8-week mindfulness-based stress reduction program. And then I went on to become a qualified MBSR teacher. And in 2012, I was able to go back to Bridgepoint Health, not doing what I used to do, working with survivors of stroke, but teaching MBSR to patients with chronic pain with Dr. Robinson, who had been teaching CBT for chronic pain for 20 years at Bridgepoint. So I was really lucky to have his mentorship. So that being said, I just want to take a moment to open the floor to hear from you on what mindfulness is to you, because mindfulness is actually something that's innate in all of us, and everyone already kind of already does it, knows it, but maybe we don't realize that, oh, that's the term mindfulness for what I already do or what I try to do. So what is mindfulness to you? And you can just blurt it out. Awareness. Who said that? Awareness. Thank you. Awareness. What else? Awareness without judgment. Thank you. Yes. I think we could stop there, but I'll just invite one more person. Anything to add? Awareness without judgment. In the present moment. Can we end there now? I think that's perfect. Awareness of the present moment without judgment. Thank you. That's pretty much this. So we have Jon Kabat-Zinn and Carl Lomberg's definition. So Jon Kabat-Zinn says it's paying attention in a certain way, and that certain way is the non-judgment, on purpose. So there's the intentional, conscious decision, not just, I'm naturally mindful. No, there's a conscious intention of choosing to pay attention to the present moment non-judgmentally. Similarly, Carlos says that it's about choosing to pay attention to the present moment with kindness and curiosity. And so, has anyone ever taken the MBSR course yet? Okay, whoa, we have a good handful here. So for those who have taken the course, you'll know that the course book is Jon Kabat-Zinn's Full Catastrophe Living. And I would say the most important chapter in that book, because it's a thick book, and the latest edition just got thicker. If you were to read one chapter in the book, it's chapter 2, which is all about the foundational attitudes. And so if there's anything you walk away from this talk today, make it one of these attitudes. So this is at the heart of mindfulness. Mindfulness is that choosing to be aware of this moment, your body, your mind, what's around you, everything happening in this moment, with beginner's mind. Curiosity, that freshness. Maybe for some of you, you've been in this room before, but can you be in this room for the first time? Or what about your bodies? You've been in your body for decades now, but can you bring beginner's mind to this body? Because it is different from what it was just 2 days ago. So bringing that beginner's mind, constant practice. Acceptance. And so this is probably one of the hardest ones. And what I appreciate about Jon Kabat-Zinn's teaching is that acceptance doesn't mean you have to like or love or say, all right, I give up, this is how it is. He says it's simply an acknowledging that this is the reality right now. Not for the next month, not the rest of the year, not my whole life, because no, that is impossible to accept that this is how I'm going to be for the rest of my life. No, I can't accept that. Can I acknowledge the reality that this is how my body's feeling right now? More doable. So I like that definition of accepting. Non-judgment. Another hard one related to acceptance, and judging is a natural thing that we humans do. You know, I don't like, we shouldn't. But it's this resisting that ends up really revving the nervous system, upregulates our nervous system, we become more sensitive. So this non-judgment allows us to take away the filters. We've all heard of it is what it is. Is it good, is it bad? But the good and the bad is the thinking that makes it so. So mindful is just being aware of when we are judging and not judging the judgments. Patience, especially with ourselves, especially with the changing body. Being patient. So obviously all easier said than done. Trust. Trusting the physio you choose, trusting your clinician, most importantly, trusting yourself and continuing to cultivate that trust in the body. Non-striving. So of course, we're all striving to move forward, reach our goals. We are striving people, and that's part of being human. So this non-striving is simply a way of balancing out all this striving. It's a way of, so we have our goals and we're striving to meet our goals. But right now, can I meet myself where I am in the journey? It's just taking those moments to let go of where you should be or where you need to be, and this is where I am today. Just letting go, which leads us to the next one. It's just this practicing of letting go of our expectations of ourselves, of others, of life. It's just letting go of the shoulds and just being with what is here now. So if you notice with all of these attitudes, there is a quality of opening, right? So just, curiously looking into your body, how would you feel if we had beginner's mind, accepted, with non-judgment, patient, trusting, non-striving, letting go? There's this, it's a palpable sense of opening. And so when it comes to living with chronic pain, we are choosing to be in a relationship with our body that doesn't feel comfortable. And I'm going to share this quote from Viktor Frankl. Has anyone, who has heard of him? Put your hand up and read his book, Man's Search for Meaning. So this is from that book. He's a survivor of the Holocaust. And you would think this man who, they took everything from him, his name, his family, he's just a number. And he talks about freedom in a concentration camp. So he says that between stimulus and response. So the stimulus could be a uncomfortable sensation, an uncomfortable emotion, a disturbing thought, somebody who cuts you off on the road, any kind of stimuli. So between that stimulus and your response, there's a space. And in that space lies our power to choose our response. And in your response lies your growth and your freedom. And mindfulness helps us to create those spaces where we just get that space between the thought, the emotion, the sensation, so that I am not overwhelmed in it, but I see it, and there's that space. And in that space, there is that choice. So there's that sense of empowerment. Instead of the reacting, no, I can choose. So every now and then, I'll find myself, I'll be overwhelmed and I'm stressing out, and I'll just have to stop and I'll talk to myself. I am response able, Jaisa. I'm going to choose my response. I am response able. It's a lot of hard work and it's not my norm, but it's a habit I'm still practicing, trying to create. Again, it's a relationship building with myself that I'm creating. So it's about relationships. Instead of reacting on autopilot in whatever ways that we normally react, for me and for many of us, it's normally judgment, right? And it's very conditioned, right? We're in a society of painkiller, right? That's an example of how we judge pain. Let's kill the pain, right? We never hear let's be in relationship with pain. That's just not kind of radical to say that, right? But, so I think it's normal to say that most of us will react on autopilot, resisting, ignoring, and turning away. Oh, this headache is here. It's going to be normal for most of us to judge the headache, right? That's normal. But what we're looking at now is that there's actually benefit to, instead of this, trying to just turn away from, ignore, distract ourselves from the pain, there's benefit to turning towards this acknowledging, this accepting. Okay, you're here. Allowing, that's a choice. Headache, I allow you to be here. It doesn't mean I like you, but I allow you to be here. So it's just turning towards, right? We can only be in a relationship with something or someone when we turn towards it. When we react on autopilot, there's kind of like an assumed sense of danger, like, oh my God, I'm getting worse. I can't handle this. I've thought I'm dying sometimes. So all of those kind of go under the danger, fear umbrella, and it gives us the sense of no control. But with those attitudes of mindfulness, there's this turning towards with a curiosity, this interest to discover, to learn what's going on here, what is happening here. So almost becoming, like stepping into the scientist of ourselves and putting on that scientist cap, and what data can I gather here? Is this a 5 out of 10 pain? Is it sharp? Is it dull? How long has it been here? And there's just that curiosity to learn. And with that choice to turn towards this discomfort, there's that sense of control, which is so empowering when you feel like you can't control anything in life, just the ability to choose to turn towards instead of to ignore. There's that empowerment there. When we react on autopilot with judging, turning away, that upregulates our nervous system, which increases our sensitivity to the pain. But this relationship, this mindful relationship of, what's going on? I acknowledge this interest, this sense of trust in yourself that, I can turn towards, I can turn away. I can look at you and I can turn away. That sense of trust in your ability to face, be with, it downregulates the nervous system, decreasing our sensitivity to the pain. And so this difference between having a judgmental relationship, why are you here? Why am I feeling this way? Why am I so tired? This judging relationship is a suffering relationship. But when we practice this relationship of, okay. It's kind of like if you have an annoying neighbor, you're going to be stuck with them. I might as well start being in a relationship. Okay, hey, how are you? You just you have no choice but to just turn towards it and say hello. I don't like you, but hello. I can at least turn towards you and say hi. How are you? And it's the difference between suffering and living well with chronic pain, living well with an annoying neighbor. And so all easier said than done because, we are humans with habits conditioned by society and cultural expectations of how we're with pain. And so we will normally react with judgment. But with practice, with mindfulness, just even taking that one conscious breath to disengage from autopilot, I'm going to choose to be in a mindful relationship with pain. You may not necessarily say that sentence, but it's just this, I can respond. I can respond instead of react. And so, pain is a biopsychosocial neurophysiological experience where, let's say I step on something sharp, that pain signal goes to my brain. Now, depending on how the brain perceives that stimuli, it'll actually change our experience of the pain. So let's just say the brain says, danger. So we'll say danger, non-danger. So if I perceive it as danger, it's like the brain is the president of the country, of the body, and say, oh my God, we're under attack, danger, give me more information, we're under attack. So it'll actually tell your nervous system to give it more information. So the nerves actually become more sensitive. The threshold lowers, and the velocity of sending that pain signal to the brain increases. And with persistent pain over time and this constant danger, 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 the body's great. It evolves. It's going to, over time, be more sensitive and speed up the velocity of sending the signals. So over time, we've got this central sensitization in our nervous system that we see with the chronic pain population. But what I find so much hope in is that with changing our relationship with pain, changing how the brain perceives pain, we can change that. And that's the beauty of neuroplasticity. So this practice of turning towards with curiosity and acceptance. So when that pain signal comes up and the brain perceives instead of danger, not danger, right? So all those attitudes of, what's going on here? I allow you to be here, that acceptance, that trust, all under the umbrella of not danger. It's now the president saying, okay, we're not under attack, body. Don't keep giving me all this information. I need to put my energy in other parts of the body, so stop giving me all this info. The nerves actually become less sensitive. So the threshold increases. So even though you have stimuli coming on, it needs more and more stimuli. It becomes more tolerant before it sends that signal to the brain. So the nerves become less sensitive, and it doesn't send it to the brain as quickly. So we see this decrease in velocity in the pain signals being sent. So over time, with practice, we start to see a decrease in this sensitization of the nervous system in chronic pain. So this is the neuroplasticity of having a mindful relationship with pain. We can change how the brain perceives pain. We see that reduced velocity at which pain signals are sent. There's that increased threshold for pain where the nerves are less sensitive to the painful stimuli, and we see that decreased central sensitization. And not only are we seeing changes in the nerves and the peripheral nerves, but even in the brain. So I don't know if you can see from here, but we're seeing changes in the hippocampus, the gray matter. But for me, what's I think is most exciting is changes in the amygdala. So for those of us who are really emotionally reactive and always in fight or flight and we're stressed, our amygdalas are bigger than normal. But with mindful practice, we're seeing a reduce in size of the amygdala. So not being as overly reactive, more calm, less stressed. So it's really hard to change and learn new habits. And that's why I really advocate for the 8-week program. So what's great about the 8-week program, which has a lot of research, is that you have a group of people that you're accountable to, and it's facilitated by skilled, trained facilitators. So every week, depending on the size of the group, it could be anywhere from 2 to 3 hours long. And then between week 6 and week 7, there's a 1-day retreat, usually in the same place. But it's usually 6 to 7 hours where you'll just be practicing everything you've learned in the first month and a half. And it's a great way to practice your mindfulness and bring it deeper, longer day of silence, and just going deeper into your emotions, sensations, and thoughts with this quality of openness and curiosity and acceptance. Over the 8 weeks, we receive guided instruction, and there's activities and group discussions aimed at enhancing awareness in daily living, whether it's at home or at work. And there's home practice, which is probably the most important part of the curriculum. And I have a small picture here, but it's obviously old because it's CDs. Now I don't give CDs. I get you to download audio off Google. But there's the readings, and then there's the practice. But the most important homework is not the reading, but the actual practice, whether it's 5 minutes, 10 minutes. But the program is actually 45 minutes of practice a day. So that's what the research shows. All the research that shows MBSR being effective is based on participants doing the 45 minutes of practice a day. Mind you, there's more and more research showing that just 5 minutes a day changes your brain. And so that's hopeful. I've just pulled out some of the elements of the curriculum that are more related to managing pain. There's a lot of CBT in it. What are you thinking? What are you feeling? What are you sensing? So for the whole 8 weeks, we're having participants journal your thoughts, emotions, sensations. Thoughts, emotions, sensations. So over time, there's just this, aha, okay, all right. There's this obvious connection between what I'm thinking, feeling, and sensing. We also explore mindful consumption, not just food and drink, but the people around us, the spaces we're in, and how all of these different situational factors affect our pain. We, over the 8 weeks, develop greater awareness of, okay, these are my habitual reactions to stress and pain, and then catching ourselves when we do that to change and relearn other ways of responding to pain. Most importantly, by the end of the 8 weeks, the overall goal is to really develop a self-care practice based on self-compassion for ourselves, because that self-compassion, that self-care really is the foundation of all of our healing journeys, right? When we realize, okay, I really want to stop suffering. I want to be better. I want to care for myself. I deserve to be loved. I deserve to be better. There's really that sense of self-worth, self-love that becomes the foundation for healing and learning and growth. So when we talked about practice, daily practice, we encourage two types of practice. There's the formal and informal. So formal practice is what you're formally taking time out of your day. So you're going to take 10 minutes or 15 minutes, 1 minute, but you're taking time out of your day to bring those qualities of mindfulness, that curious, accepting, non-judgmental attention to, sitting, moving, walking. So you're taking time out to do that mindful activity. But then there's the informal practice, which is bringing the attitudes of mindfulness to whatever activity you're doing, whether you're having coffee with a colleague, doing the laundry, taking a shower. And that's what I love about mindfulness, is that you can never be too busy to practice, because you can bring mindfulness to whatever you're doing. And just remembering that it's not what we do, it's how we do it. It's those 7 foundational attitudes. It's the how. It's that opening feeling of turning towards, being in relationship with this moment. And so we're seeing a lot of evidence for mindfulness, this mindful relationship with pain. And over time, we're actually seeing a decrease in pain intensity. So we're seeing a change in the pain experience. We're seeing a change in how we interpret the pain, from danger to not danger, maybe. The non-reactivity related to the change in the amygdala. Pain attentional bias, so that seems to be common, for those of us with chronic pain. We develop this bias to always paying attention to pain, but we see a change in that over time with mindfulness. Change in opioid craving and misuse. And one of my favorites is a decrease in pain-related functional interference, or in other words, with mindfulness, we're seeing people getting back to doing more things that they couldn't do before because of the pain. And I just want to share some meta-analyses of randomized control trials. So this one here with Gottnick and friends looked at 115 RCTs and found courses such as MBSR to significantly reduce stress and depression and improve quality of life and physical functioning. And similarly, Goyal and friends looked at 47 RCTs and found MBSR beneficial for physical and mental conditions, including stress, anxiety, depression, back pain, and heart disease. So that being said, let's actually feel it now, because mindfulness is not something to hear about or read about, it's something to feel. So you can it's just gonna be a 10-minute practice. We can do it in our chairs, but if you'd like to lie down and relax, we have 5 mats here to the left and 6 mats at the back. So we can take that minute for you to get comfortable and maybe lie down if you wish. Like I said, this will be about 10 minutes of practicing bringing mindfulness to our body and our minds. And you can also use the back sofas if you wish. So while people are moving around, let's begin to set the intention for the quality of the attention we're going to bring to ourselves and each other. Remembering that mindfulness is this intentional choosing. So let's set the intention that whatever arises in the next 10 minutes, can we bring curiosity? Can we be like a child who is entering a place they have never been? So there's this curiosity and interest to discover, learn something new. Let's set the intention to put the welcome mat out. Maybe your welcome mat is a particular color. I actually imagine a green welcome mat that says welcome in yellow. And this welcome mat just simply is an image to remind us to acknowledge and allow what arises to be here, even if you don't like it, because it's already here. So with this curiosity and acceptance, this friendliness, this openness to be with the moment, let's notice the body and maybe asking yourself, hey body, how are you feeling right now? Just noticing.
Very well, thank you.
That's weird. Siri feels well. So bringing your awareness back to the body, maybe noticing sensations in your head and neck, arms, shoulders, hands, chest, back, hips, legs, and feet, and noticing if there is some discomfort, and noticing thoughts and emotions that can arise with our pains, and just observing it all with curiosity, that sense of discovery. What's going on here, body? And can we be present to our body as it is? And notice how the body is naturally inhaling and exhaling. And so this feeling of your breath in the body is a great tool to develop trust in, to be in relation to. Because notice how your breath, your inhale, your exhale, notice how it's always happening in real time. And notice how your mind wanders. And notice if you're judging your mind wandering. No need to judge when we're thinking, because mindfulness is not about not thinking. It's about being aware when we are thinking without judgment. And I invite you to practice this returning to the breath. Every time your mind wanders, we can come back. So this is simply a practice in returning to the body, returning to the breath. And your inhale is a great reminder that every moment new. Every inhale fresh, so we can bring fresh eyes to ourselves, fresh eyes to this body, different from the body you had last week. How does the breath feel today, right now? And notice how your exhalation, your expiration is a letting go of what the body doesn't need. So it's a reminder to us to let go of expectations of how I should be, how others should be, how this world should be, just letting go and coming back to that fresh new inhale. And this is a great way to create space where we can choose our responses. Just coming back to this tool within this breath. And now I invite you to put the welcome mat out for your emotions to be. Taking a moment to ask, how am I feeling right now? What feelings are here? And giving yourself the freedom to feel whatever you're feeling without judgment. If we're angry, we're angry. If we're sad, we're sad. If I'm happy, I'm happy. Whatever you're feeling, if you're feeling a mix of feelings, mindfulness has us welcoming it all without judgment. All the while, noticing your thoughts when they come and go without judgment, but curiosity and accepting our thoughts. And when you're ready, coming back to the body and the breath. Just one more time asking, hey body, how are you feeling? And if there's some discomfort, can we say, hey, I see you. Hey, what's going on here? Hello, sensation, I feel you and I allow you to be here because you're already here. And all the while, if ever we want to come back to feeling more centered, we come to that breath. Wherever it's most easy for you to feel centered, maybe in your nose, your throat, or your chest, or your belly. And when you're ready, opening your eyes. Okay. And I'll welcome those who are lying down to slowly take your time coming back. And as those of you lying down come back, I'll open the floor for anyone to share anything right now that's coming up for you, what you notice, what's challenging, an insight, anything. Huh. And is that something you are very familiar with? So there is new data for your own scientific project of your life, right? There's new data, information. We discovered something new about yourself, which you didn't know before. And so whether we may like the information or not, that's what feeds the continued curiosity. What's here to be discovered? What's here to learn? What data? Because the more data we have about ourselves, then the more information we have to choose responses that will help towards feeling better. Thank you for sharing. So you probably notice some of the languaging I'm using, and they're printed on your card. There's a card in your book, but so you'll notice the attitudes of mindfulness here. What's going on? What information can I gather? What's here to learn? Or, when that pain comes up, hey, hello, you're back. I see you. I know you well. So I like to have fun with it, just to make something that's kind of painful feel a little more light. Like, hey, you're back. I get sarcastic with it. It's like, hey, you're back. I know you well. Okay, I acknowledge you're here, and I allow you to be here. There's that sense of choice. I allow you to be here. Because I could choose otherwise. I could choose to resist. But no, I'll choose to allow you to be here. I can and will put the welcome mat out for you to be here. I give permission for myself to feel this way instead of judging, why am I feeling this way? No, I give permission. Of course I feel this way. I'm allowed. I am responsible. I'm able to choose how I'll respond to this. I choose to re-inhabit my body. And that's something I learned from Jon Kabat-Zinn, that rehabilitation is not about getting back to how I was before. Rehabilitation is a re-inhabitation. So we are re-inhabiting. Mindfulness alone is not enough, for sure. And I learned that. There was a couple years like, mindfulness, it's all about mindfulness. And I was like, no, it's not enough. Where it does help in conjunction with everything else that we have in our toolkit is if it can just get us from an 8 out of 10 pain to a 7.5, okay? And maybe that's all I get for a year. And then in another year, from 7.5 to a 7, that for me is the difference between despair and hope. So between drowning and just keeping my nose above the water. So we're really not talking about, significant change. If we can just get that 0.5 change in that feeling of drowning to, my head's above water, over time, it will get better. So that's kind of more of the reality with what we're working with. It's that patience and trust that's part of the mindfulness, that over time, with practice, I will change the neurophysiology of the body. So and that's why this is a practice, because there are times when you want to give up, this is not working, and then getting back on the wagon and practicing. So I think I'll just continue.
Will there be time for questions after
yes,
still?
Yes, there will be. So yeah, I'll just get through a couple more slides, and then we'll have times for questions. So I'm just going to end off with self-compassion. And like I said, there's a point in time where I realized, okay, mindfulness alone is not enough. And that's why I love sharing the image of the bird, because mindfulness is just one wing of the bird, and the other wing is the self-compassion part. So, mindfulness has us becoming really aware with what's here and being with the body and mind as it is. Now what? then the other wing is the compassion. What am I going to do? What can I do to make myself feel a little better? And together, the practices of both mindfulness and compassion are shown to be amongst the most powerful agents in brain change, which is amazing. Research shows a reduction in stress, an enhancement in well-being, and emotional resilience. And a nice reminder for all of us, whether we're here as a patient or a caregiver, if compassion does not include yourself, it is incomplete. Compassion is simply that acknowledgement of this is hard, I'm suffering, I'm struggling, I'm hurting, I'm in pain. And it really is the key to self-care. And just some of the science showing the improvements related to practicing compassion. And so this is also one of the cards in your folder. It's the breathing space. And basically, we're going to go through this together real quickly to show you how you don't need a lot of time to practice this self-compassion. So right now, let's practice bringing awareness to the body and just asking, hey body, how are you feeling? Acknowledge how the body's feeling. What emotions are here? How am I feeling? Just asking yourself right now, how am I feeling? No judgment. And then focusing on the breath. And now focusing on the whole body. And now asking yourself, what would I love to do for myself tonight? What do I need this weekend? What's going to make myself feel better? What do I need? And then visualize yourself doing that. Stop and rain. Other two very commonly used self-care, self-compassion practices, mindfulness practices. The rain one is also on one of your cards. We put only one of them in because they're really similar. So for example, stop. S, stop. Stop. We've all stopped. T, take a few breaths. O, observe. Observe the body. Checking in. Hey body, how are you doing? Hey emotions. What emotions are here? P, proceed with compassion. What can I do today to take care of myself? What do I need tonight? What do I need next week? Rain. R is recognize. Let's recognize the body. Hey body, how are you doing? A, allow. All right, I allow you to be as you are. I acknowledge, I accept. I, investigate with interest and care. What's going on here? What's going on here? Oh, my rib pops out every time I'm breathing in and out. What's going on? N, nourish with compassion. What do I need to do to take care of myself? How can I address this? How can I make myself feel better? So you can see the similarities between stop, rain, the breathing space. If there's anything we take away, it's that before we can move on and take care of ourselves, we have to check in. Check in and acknowledge with interest and acceptance. And only when we do that can we then say, okay, this is what I need to move forward to take care. And so, as a wrap up with my story, that first picture on the right is with me and my parents during a 5K walk in 2014. I needed two hiking sticks, orthotics, and ankle supports. Fast forward to the bottom picture with my partner. That was a 5K in 2017. I was able to wean off of ankle supports, so I was able to do this with orthotics and one hiking stick. And then the top picture with the sunflowers was just the summer. I did a 3K with no sticks, no ankle supports, no orthotics, a lot of rest. And then the bottom left is when my book, Purpose and Paralysis, launched. But what's more important that you don't really see here, more important than walking for me, is the journey of self-compassion. This continued, all right, Jaisa, you're in pain. This is what I need. I need to say no, or I need to say yes, I need to eat this, I need to rest, just a sense of worthiness of my own compassion. And that for me is how mindfulness has really helped me. It's that one wing of the bird, mindfulness and compassion. And you can't fly without both the mindfulness and compassion piece. So final thoughts. Let's strengthen our mindfulness muscle. Neuroplasticity does work. Until we die, neuroplasticity works. We can change how the brain perceives pain. Tend to your parachute daily. As long as you have your breath, you can never be too busy to practice mindfulness. While you're driving, we can bring mindful awareness to ourselves. Here are some resources. MBSR courses, you can see what's available in the GTA on mindfulnesstoronto.net. I've got free audio on my SoundCloud. There's many apps out there, and of course, John Kabat-Zinn's Full Catastrophe Living, and then there's my book, Purpose and Paralysis, where I share my journey. These are the scientific references. And now questions or comments.